Anointed warriors. What up, spiritual family? And welcome back to Mount Fitness MBS Ministry, where I am your host, Brother Minister Mongoose. If you're tuning in for the first time, guys, I'm not a traditional minister, nor is this a traditional ministry. Please stay tuned to the end of the video, and I'll give you some more information about what I mean by that. Pardon me. But for now, I'd like to take another couple seconds to officially welcome you guys to the channel. If it's your first time tuning in, if you are a long-time subscriber and supporter, or if you're anywhere in between, hey, listen, welcome. I value each and every single one of you guys. And to the long-time subscribers and supporters of the ministry, a special shout out of love, thanks, and appreciation to each and every single one of you guys as well. And without further ado, we'll get off into today's topic. We're going to be talking about why the chosen ones are so weird. You heard me. We're going to be talking about why the chosen ones are so weird. And I want to set the table by giving you guys a quote from a scripture. The quote says that he has made you, me, his chosen people. He's made us a rare and royal bloodline and priesthood, a peculiar people that has been set aside, set apart. Now you could break that word peculiar down and you can look at the etymological origins of it. You can look at synonyms. A lot of words that could be interchanged. There are a lot of words that could be interchanged with the word peculiar. And one of those words is weird. One of those words is weird. Peculiar. Different. Strange. Odd. Weird. But these same words that have a negative connotation on and association with them can also be interchanged with words that are what we would say beautiful, empowering. So instead of weird, you could say unique. You could say rare. You could say special. You could say anomalous. So I'm setting the table by saying that, guys, and it's also important that we understand that weird is oftentimes a word that is used by someone in a conscious or subconscious way to help that someone feel better about themselves when they come across somebody or something upon which they lack the understanding and the comprehension to figure out, to understand. When someone comes across that, be it you or me or anyone else, when we lack the understanding, the knowledge to comprehend something, to figure something out, then we're left with this default word, weird. Well, why isn't a car weird? Why isn't a tree weird? Why isn't a bicycle, your bank account, the clothes that you wear? Why aren't they weird? Because you have the knowledge, you have the understanding to be able to figure out what those things are, to classify those things, to associate, meaning and purpose for those things. But when you lack the understanding, or when someone lacks the understanding, then there's that default word, or it's just weird. And again, consciously or subconsciously, we tend to use this word to make ourselves feel better and to brush over the fact that we lack the understanding that's required to understand something, its meaning, its purpose, its origin, and things of that nature. Having said that, or having said those couple of things, let me continue to move forward and set the table by also mentioning that the word weird, as it applies to why the chosen ones are so weird, we're going to be using that word as it relates to the world, society, mainstream culture, mannerisms, thoughts, expectations, views, etc. It's not being used to say this is precisely what they are. This is the microcosm. This is the definitive definition. This is the end all be all. We're using this word from, again, a collective societal standpoint. Those who are the in crowd, whatever you want to call them, the in vogue society, culture, etc. We're speaking it from their point of view and not from a truthful or factual point of view. Because ultimately, when this word weird is used to describe the chosen ones, it's used by mainstream society because, again, they lack the understanding. And so this is the viewpoint we're going to be looking at it from, given that most people, mainstream society, is the ones who put out these labels, the one who developed these mindsets, who prejudge and predetermine that because they lack the understanding, because somebody is so different, so unexplainably unique, well, they're just weird. So that's the context, and that's the standpoint and the angle from which we're using and approaching this topic, that the chosen ones are weird. I'm going to set for you a analogy. And again, those of you who are familiar with the channel, if you've heard this once, you've heard it probably 1,000 times. But I think it's an analogy that brings this point home in a way that few, if any other, can. So imagine a insane asylum where, well, let me digress just for a second. First of all, we know that the powers that be, this thing that we call humanity, this thing that we call science in particular, we know that science can explain to you pretty much any and every single thing that you need to know or would ever be inclined to know or be curious about. Scientists can explain that about pretty much any and everything that exists in this 3D realm. The people, the places, the houses, the plants, the origins of it, how long it lives, what causes it to get sick, its mating season, what times to leave, what time of year the leaves change colors, what causes them to oxidize and change colors, or what's the lifespan of a maggot, the lifespan of an elephant, the perfect breeding ground, the challenges they face, etc., etc., etc. Science can explain all of these things to you. Do not think for a second that they don't have that same amount, or dare I say, even more amount of information, knowledge, and understanding when it comes to the human being. The human being has been studied, analyzed, dissected, deconstructed, all the things that you can imagine on an even more broader scale than all of these other areas that I mentioned, and of course the ones that I didn't mention. So science, point that I'm making is science knows you. Science knows me, the human beings. All of our tendencies, all of our likelihoods, every single thing you comprehend. So it's important that we know that, and now I will set forth this analogy. Imagine an insane asylum, and these people that's in this insane asylum, mental health asylum, whatever the appropriate politically correct phrase is. I mean, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just making an analogy here. These people inside of this insane asylum, they have some ability to use their mental faculties. They can do some degree of thought, reasoning, rationale, and things of this nature. Like they're just not standing in a corner, banging their head against the wall. But at the same time, they wouldn't be able to effectively or safely for themselves or others for that matter, and if you were to put them in the population. So their mental faculties are somewhat existent in terms of them being able to do, some minimal amount of reasoning and understanding certain different things. But only to a very minimal degree. Now, not only are their mental faculties barely in existence, let's say, for example, their physical normalities are not normal at all. So some don't have control of their limbs. The limbs are flailing all the time. Some, they slobbing out of the mouth all the time, whatever the case may be. Some have deformed body parts, misfigured faces, humps on the back, swollen leg, one leg real big, one leg real small. I hope I'm doing a good job of characterizing where I'm trying to go with this without being offensive to anyone. But we're looking at some people that would not, by any stretch of the imagination, be considered someone that you would be comfortable being around, or you would say they could make it on their own in society. This is why they're in the insane asylum to begin with. So they have all these mental deformities, limitations, etc., as well as these physical deformities, limitations, and things of that nature as well. And the reason I mentioned the science knowing everything is because they know this. There's hidden studies that have been revealed, not recently, as early as the 20s and 40s and 50s, 60s, that scientists have taken normal human beings that had none of those symptoms, again, normal human being, normal in their physicality and in their mentality. Everything about the human being was normal. But they put them in this insane asylum. And for some, they put in there from birth. And some they put in at a very early age. And then there's some that they're put in from what we would say middle age or young middle age, however you want to word it. So 20s and 30s. Some they put in as teens, some they put in as infants. Totally normal human beings. And they monitored, they watched these human beings. Obviously, it was a science test to begin with. And they just let them grow up there. These human beings had essentially no contact with normal society, other normal human beings, other than those that they came across that may be, doctors and staff members. After a while, depending on the age that the normal human being was when they were put into and contained and confined in that facility, depending on the age that they were when they were put in there, the science began to notice that these normal human beings developed and behaved like those who were meant to be there, those that needed to be there. The normal human beings began to develop the habit of contorting their face, contorting and after a while limiting, actually causing deformities or lack of usage in their body parts, because after so long they began to intentionally walk with a limp, hold their arms in disfigured, abnormal ways, even though there was nothing wrong with them, contorting their faces to the point to where they developed all of this literal disfiguration that was permanent after them having done it for so long, walking with humps in their backs, developing, real world humps in their backs or back problems to where they could no longer straighten their back up anymore. And not only did they take upon and embrace the physical things that seemed normal to them, in terms of people having disfigured faces, body parts, all of these things, then they also started taking on the mental construct or attitude or behavior as the people who had real mental illnesses. The scientists know this. This has been done and proven time and time again. The reason being is, again, the science knows that it's in our nature as human beings to want to fit in, to want to be like those that are around us. The human soul longs for acceptance. And people will unintentionally, yet simultaneously, intentionally, begin to develop and to morph into what they know is normal for their environment. Not that it's normal in and of itself, it's normal in terms of that's familiar. It's common, it's expected. Regardless of how ultimately abnormal it is, just because it's a pattern, it's familiar, it's common, it's to be expected. People morph into that. The sciences have gone on to conclude, as a part of their ultimate conclusion, analysis, and things of this nature, one of the things that they concluded is that these people morph, change, evolve into all of these abnormalities because they're looked at. They're not accepted. They're rejected. They're looked at. They're considered weird. They're considered strange, odd, peculiar. And in that quest to not be those things, in that quest to fulfill that longing for acceptance, for approval, for validation. Hey, I'm okay. I'm a good guy. I'm a good girl. I'm just like everybody else. I want love. I want friends. In an effort to avoid being considered weird, oddball, third wheel out, whatever, this is why people do it. Because those that are in that environment, those who naturally have all of the dysfunctions, they view the people who don't have the dysfunctions as weird. And now you begin to comprehend. Because this insane asylum is extrapolated out to be collective society. Even though in this collective society, majority of people are not physically deformed. Most people are not mentally deformed, or at least not in the sense that we would say they're mentally deformed. Remember, these people in the insane asylum, they had some ability to focus. They had some ability to ration and to reason and to understand. They had some degrees of normality when it came to their physical abilities. So then it only stands to reason that the people who are not in the insane asylum, but that are also suffering from these types of limitations physically or mental illnesses, then it only stands to reason that they would have more than the people who are in the insane asylum would have. But even though they're not in and of themselves normal, they don't move with normal, organic mental health, psychological or social wellness. They're totally discombobulated, totally dysfunctional, but on a level that allows them to perform the things that the powers that be need them to be able to perform, which is basically go to work, pay your taxes, help their system, and buy a lot of stuff and help their system and keep doing those things until you're old, till you retire, and you can't be of use to the system anymore. Then you go buy the car that you've always wanted. You drive it around as an old man or old lady, and then you go on and you die, and that's the meaning of life. The devil is a lie. But so it's these people in the global, the worldly, the earthly insane asylum that sees the chosen ones as weird. Because just like in the insane asylum, the chosen ones don't have these deformities. They don't have the mental illnesses. They're not operating with all of the dysfunctionality that those who operate within that box of the system, if you will, tend to have. And so chosen ones gets the label of weird. They get ridiculed, mocked at, laughed, shamed, talked about. Just like the people in the insane asylum that were totally normal. But all the people that was dysfunctional, mentally and physically looked at him like, hey, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with her? How come both of their legs are the same size? And how come they walk upright? There's no hump in their back. Their face is not distorted. They got no lumps in their neck. Well, look how their arms just hang down normally. They're not running around here slobbing at the mouth. You know, they're not running around here singing songs to themselves, for themselves, arguing against themselves, and they're not doing any of these things. That person's weird because everybody else in the insane asylum showed their dysfunction. It couldn't be hidden. And here comes a guy or a girl that doesn't have these dysfunctions. Well, there's something wrong with them. And so those who nothing was wrong with them to begin with, they didn't develop over time a disease, a mental health issue. They simply adopted it. Because of that longing, because of the pressures that came from the outside to fit in, because of that pressure that came from, hey, everybody is living like this, why aren't you? And since you aren't living like this, we're going to talk about you, we're going to shun you, etc., etc. This is what's taking place in the lives of the chosen ones. And this is what's taking place in the lives of this collective insane asylum. The chosen ones are being labeled as weird. When we keep in mind the definition or the way that weird is actually used, there's nothing weird about them at all. They're weird because they're not weird. They're looked at a certain way because, you know, some of you guys may be old enough to remember the dog flea collar commercial. When the dog put the flea collar on, he sang a song, there may be bugs on the rest of you mugs, but it ain't no bugs on me. I don't have attitude issues. I don't have main character syndrome. I don't have this need to be validated, to prove myself, or to compete against everybody that I see, to show my toughness, or to be mean-spirited. I don't have those bugs. And because I don't have them bugs, and all of you guys do, or the most of the people in society do, they want to project that term, that label, onto those who don't. If you don't have the bugs, don't adopt the bugs. Make a conscious, deliberate, and determined choice to not partake in that. Don't take on the bugs. I don't care if you have to look yourself in the mirror 5, 10, 100 times a day to remind yourself, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. You don't have attitude issues. You treat people fairly, / you walk upright. Your face isn't distorted. You don't have a big leg and a small foot, and then a small foot and a big leg on the other side of your body. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not arrogant. You don't have to prove yourself. You don't walk around trying to challenge everybody and everything and compare yourself to everybody and everything. You move in kindness, love, respect, good old-fashioned human decency. Get yourself to the mirror and realize that. Because unfortunately, if we go back to the studies, the scientific studies that I mentioned, these people lost sight of that. They lost sight of the fact that there was nothing wrong with them to begin with. And again, depending on the age, because there were people that they put in there that you would think were old enough, that was mature enough, informed enough to know that there was nothing wrong with them, and they could have continued to walk their life out under those conditions and take solace in the fact that there was nothing wrong with them. But they didn't. They lost sight of it all because of the constant bombardment, the constant attacks, the constant ridicule and labels that was directed and projected upon them. They lost sight of it all. And even at the age of 25 or 30, when they watched them over 15, 20 years, the same normal people began to disfigure their body, walking, like something was wrong with their shoulders, and bending over and, twisting their face up and, playing little weird, what we would call, to use that word loosely, playing all these games that you would associate, or what's most common with people who have mental and psychological issues. They developed all kinds of social dysfunctions. When they first went in there at 25 or 30, and the doctor or the nurse or the cafeteria person brought them food, they were nice and polite and just good old-fashioned normal human conduct. But after being in there after a while and having to endure all of that, they began to treat the staff members just like the people who actually had the diseases and mental and physical illness and limitations did. So this is why the chosen ones are so weird. Because from the perspective, and only from the perspective, of the people who have bugs on them, you're weird. You're not mean like everybody else. You're not rude like everybody else. You're not arrogant. You don't feel the need to compete or prove yourself. You don't feel the need to tear people down, spread rumors, and go along with things that you know are not right. There ain't no bugs on you. And you're living in an insane asylum, also known as collective society, where unfortunately there's bugs on most of these people. You know it, they know it, and I know it. So it takes a focus. It takes a determination. It takes a continual reminding and remembering there's nothing wrong with you. You're just living in a world, in a society, collective society, and unfortunately, sometimes collective society, if you will, it could be shrinking down to be within your own household, within your own workplace, within your own neighborhood. And so not only is it taking place in collective society and everywhere you go outside of the doors of your own home, sometimes you have to deal with it when you go home, which adds even more pressure. Because you like to think that you deal with all that dysfunction outside the home. When you go to the home, you shouldn't have to worry about people having bugs on them and then judging you or labeling you as being weird because you don't participate in that. You don't have bugs on you. To continue with that analogy, and some of you guys may not be old enough to remember that commercial, but it may be still on there. I think it was Hart's flea and tick collar. The dog got so happy, and it might be bugs on the rest of you mugs, but it ain't no bugs on me.
I don't have those issues. And here's the thing, I'm not knocking you that because you have those issues. In fact, I'd like to be able to help in whatever way I can. But you don't allow me that opportunity. You're not interested in that opportunity. You're just interested in attacking me, / if they're interested in attacking you or tearing you down or trying to make you feel bad because you don't have what they have. You don't have the mental, psychological, or social issues. And we all have our bumps in the roads, and we all have days where we're flowing a lot more. We're in that flow state, more continually. And sometimes, there may be something that we overreact or underreact to. We all get that. But that's not your motive operandi. That's not the template of you. That's not how you operate. It's a bump in the road for you or me. And just like driving down the highway, you're on a 10,000-mile journey from one side of the country to the other side of the country. You hit a bump in the road, you do what? You keep right on going. You don't change course. You don't stop and go backwards or go to a different location. Just keep going forward. But not most people. And so this is why the chosen ones are so weird. How dare you? You know what? Do you see what's going on with the economy? With the looming race wars and the gas prices and so-called pandemic and political tensions. Do you see all of this going on? But you're going to walk around and you're going to have joy and faith and hope and love in your spirit and in your eyes and all over your face. You're going to have that under these circumstances. Well, guess what? You're weird. But the devil is a lie. So stop trying to change yourself. Stop trying to fix yourself. You're already fixed. There's nothing about you that's broken that needs to be fixed. And we all have our things that we need to continue to work on and grow and become better as human beings. But as human beings, but there's nothing wrong with you. Stop letting the enemy get you to think that, hey man, you see what everybody else is doing. You see what everybody is into. You see how everybody else behaves, how they treat this person, how they dress, how they talk, how they respond to this. You need to be doing what everybody else doing, or we're going to call you weird. And we're going to attack you in any way that we can. Well, here's a little cheat sheet. So what? So what they're going to attack you? So what? Not making light of it, but so what? What are you going to do? They're going to attack you anyway. So just be you. Be you that he made you to be. You're weird because you're not weird. So, hey, that's what I got for you guys, man. Hey, I'm going to get out of here. I'm 38 minutes in. I've been trying to do my best to keep these down at about 30 minutes to respect you guys' time. And no matter how long we go over these different subject matters, guys, there's no way you're going to be able to put all of it in, to a single message. But this is why I always leave my email address and always, try and be respectful of you guys' time. I know, you got a lot going on. You're living in this insane asylum, as am I. But yet this is the calling. This is the anointing. This is the purpose of our lives. So, we just take it on, continue to stay focused, and continue to focus on the truth. Sound familiar for those of you who are familiar with the closing? So we focus on the truth, man. We're not about what's in fashion, what's in vogue, what's trending, what's traditional. We focus on the truth. And that's what gets us through. So let me get out of here and close, guys. If you'd like some information about what makes me a different minister, a different kind of minister, please watch a video that's titled My Testimony and Disclosure. When it comes to what makes us a different kind of ministry, this ministry is promoting a holistic mind, body, and spirit approach to health and wellness, to life itself, and of course to running the race that he has set before us. This ministry provides you with real-world services that are designed to help nourish and strengthen you in all of your parts and not just parts of you. These services consist of experiential-based philosophical consultative services for the mind, ISSA certified fitness training for the body, and clean-hearted spiritual teachings and practices for the spirit and for the soul. Additional services in which this holistic approach is also implemented consist of good old-fashioned motivational speaking as well as youth and young adult mentoring and counseling. Please visit the physical fitness branch of the ministry located at mountfitnessmbs.com. And if you have any additional questions about the services, what they consist of, how they're implemented, and how they can be beneficial to you, please watch a video that's titled MBS Service Tutorial. And if you have any questions beyond that, or if you'd like to schedule your initial consultation and evaluation in any or all of the service areas, I'm going to leave an email link down in the description box. Please reach out. I'd love to hear from you about the services, or if you have follow-up questions about today's message or any other message for that matter, hit that same email link, guys. Those two videos, along with the information that I just put forth about the ministry, this is what puts it in a nutshell, if you will, about what makes me a different kind of minister and what makes this a different kind of ministry. Now, if you found any value in today's message, or if you think that there's someone out there who could possibly, just maybe, find value in today's message, then please start by hitting the share button. Give the message an opportunity to go out there and be of value to someone. Also, if the Holy Spirit moves you to do so, then please also hit the thumbs up button and the subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed, and hit the bell icon if you'd like to receive notices when I upload every message. If the Holy Spirit moves you to assist this ministry even further by making a monetary contribution, then please hit the Cash App link down in the description box, and remember that no amount is too small. Your generosity in all of these areas is what keeps me going, to be able to make more videos like this. This is what keeps me going, guys. So thank you for all of your love and all of your support, and in whatever way you choose to show your thanks, your support, your generosity, your charity towards this ministry, may you receive an abundant harvest, shaken down, pressed together, and running over, because that's what he promised you. Receive it by faith, guys, and I simultaneously receive by faith your continued love, support, contributions across the board. Thank you guys so very much. Be sure to have an awesome day. Now go out there and remember that there's nothing wrong with you. Remember what the good book said about you when it comes to a royal priesthood, a peculiar people set aside, and know how all of us tend to use this word weird. You were intended to be peculiar and set aside. You weren't intended to fit into the insane asylum. So, walk that path boldly, unapologetically. And if there's anything this ministry can do to assist you in that, please reach out. Again, I love the opportunity to hear from you guys. But with that, I'm going to get out. I love each and every single one of you guys. Definitely go out there and be empowered by today's message. Listen to it over and over again, if and when you feel the need to, and let it make you that much more stronger, that much more wiser, that much more sharper, nourishing. Let it nourish you over and over again, whatever the case may be. But there's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with the world. You are that person that's in that insane asylum, whether you were born into it, if you're of the younger group and you're just now starting to wake up, you were born into this insane asylum, just like the child that was taken there at a very young age, or if you're somewhere in between, you're a teenager and waking up, or you're an older middle-aged adult when you're working up and waking up, you're still in the same insane asylum. And you have to trust this thing that we call God to keep you mindful of the fact that there's nothing wrong with you. to see that there's actually something wrong, something weird with the world and the ways of the world. So that's what I got for you guys. I'm going to get out of here. I love you all. I am Brother Minister Mongoose, and I will holler back. Peace.